You're looking live at CyHawkThoughts Studio. My name's Chuck Utek. Beside me is always Steve Myers. And special guest today, JT Nutt. Say hello.
What's up, people? How's it going?
Glad to have you here.
Thanks,
Haven't had a guest since last year when Nate came and joined us about Royce White. Always good to have a guest on. We're going to do kind of a two-show deal today, folks. We'll kind of close up football season in a small way, at least for the Iowa side. So
that's a wrap, folks.
And then obviously go and talk a little bit about Iowa State and dive in a little UNI football as well. And then we'll be getting into basically some basketball preview of the upcoming seasons. I know they're kind of underway, but the big part of the season, the conference season, is coming up. So we'll be giving our thoughts there. So that we did bring JT on for all you UNI fans to talk about the Panthers. Obviously, with the kind of games that they have had recently, especially with a team like Louisville, we thought this would be a good team to bring in because they could be special this year. So with that being said, that'll be in our next show. So watch this one, and we'll bring it the basketball season around for the next one. So
usually you got to pay double for that action.
And
not today.
No, we're gonna let you have it free. So, anywho, Chuck, let's start out with little Iowa talk here, please.
You know it's a bad season when. Where should I start? You know it's a bad season when Northern Illinois making the BCS is your biggest highlight of the season, since you're the only team to beat them since a year ago, October. You know it's a bad season when 4-8, you're like, 4-8, we haven't had that for like 12, 13 years. You know it's a bad season when you just can't wait for spring game, August, September. Someone say, that's every year except for Hawkeye football. But anything to get 4-8 out of the taste, that taste out of your mouth is huge. You know it's a bad season when you kind of got the Hawkeye fans split up in two camps. You got fire Greg Davis, fire Coach Kirk, and then you got, it's a down year. It is what it is. And it's Iowa. It's not Ohio State. It's not Michigan. It's, there's not as big a talent pool to pull from Iowa, and as we'll get into in a little bit, that talent pool can go elsewhere in state and be pretty happy. So it's a down year. Next year, probably going to be tough to get past 7-5 in my opinion, but I think 7-5 is realistic. Go from there. It should be a challenge, but we'll see what happens.
Well, it wasn't much more than a few weeks ago that we were looking at the chances of each team going to a bowl game, and we looked at Iowa and we said Purdue's necessary, and then an upset, which they could do. So both of us had a pretty good outside shot of Iowa making a 6-6 bowl game. I don't think either of us saw 0-3 coming down the stretch.
Oh, I did. I said back when they were after their win to Michigan State that they may not win another game.
True, you did say that.
Said it here.
Well, but were the percentage? I mean, would you?
They should have been able to beat Indiana and Purdue. Yeah. That's fair. But I didn't see a winnable game where I said they're going to win this game on the schedule. And that bowl out, it did hurt losing their two linemen in the Penn State game. Scherf will be back for sure. I think 100%. So we'll go with that. But no, I would have liked to have seen a bowl game, but everyone does. It's better to play in a bowl game than to not. And I'm fighting two schools of thought with that too, because some of it is, I'm old school. 6-6 doesn't belong in a bowl game in my old school thought. In my new school thought, hey, it's a bowl game, it's 15 extra practices, and that's huge. Back in the day, like in the 80s, you only had 15, 16 bowl games, and they were mainly December 27th on, and that was a big deal to get to a bowl game. Now, you just got to have a 500 record, and you're pretty much going. And so it's a challenge. I'm weighing those options, but internally as a Hawk fan, I'm trying to keep my ego in check, I guess, with that. But it is what it is. I would have thought they could have won a couple of those games. They didn't, whatever reason, and now let's look to next year.
Okay,
or at least look to basketball and wrestling.
Well, wrestling. Shoo! Cyclone fans, we got nothing. We got nothing on that. Look out. Iowa's here. At least you have Notre Dame, though.
Yeah. I'm glad I was a Notre Dame fan as a kid. I got that going for me. I can root for them January 7th.
What about the lack of respect for Notre Dame right now? What do you think about that? Not getting a whole lot of respect from anyone outside of the school.
Yeah, it's tough. I don't quite get it. And maybe it's just because maybe it's the same for sometimes with Cowboys or Steelers or other teams that were real popular at one time, maybe 30, 40 years ago, gone through some tough period. Now they've come back. There isn't that love because the newer group of people, younger fans, they don't quite have that upbringing where, Notre Dame and some of the...
So what you're saying is they need to remake Rudy.
They need to do something. But I mean, and maybe that's even part of it too, is that there is no luster with Notre Dame with that. Back in the 70s and 80s, and everything is so mainstream now, but Notre Dame football was gleaming. But then you had basketball and Digger Phelps, and that was a big deal, and it was on TV all the time. Now, being on TV all the time, it's because it's a special deal, and there's some jealousy and ill will harbored there. That's no doubt.
Well, as everyone out there knows,
Hater.
Hater. This is a BCS championship game that I don't know. Maybe the stadium will blow up. Something, but no. I to be honest with you, I still don't know. I do not want to see the SEC get a 6th or a 7th, wherever they're at right now. At the same time, I don't want to see Notre Dame. So I guess I'm just going to flip a coin the night of the game, and give it heads, give it tails, and deal with it.
Or could your championship game be Oregon versus K-State?
Yeah.
Which should have been the championship game anyway.
Correct.
Or Ohio State if they didn't completely screw the pooch.
Well,
so
and to be fair, the best thing that happens in the SEC for Alabama is that they lose early. If they didn't, if they don't lose early every single year, they're not in it. But that's where human voters come in and kind of mess things up, because the perception is K-State lost once, Alabama lost once, but K-State's was later.
Yeah. Yep.
So, granted, Alabama's did lose to a better team than Baylor, but Baylor came on strong at the end of the season. So, a nice segue.
Yeah.
Go to the Big 12.
Let's do it.
All right, Iowa State. As Chuck mentioned, maybe not a huge fan of 6-6, but it is what it is, and we'll take the bowl. As I did post, a lot of good thoughts when I posted. What do you think about us going to this game against Tulsa again? What is everyone's thoughts? A lot of it was I don't like going to these small bowls. Playing small, different schools. First of all, the Liberty Bowl, decent payout. So it's not the worst. It's better than the worst of the Big 12 affiliations. Okay, so that's good news.
And it's old school bowl.
And it is.
Liberty Bowl's been around forever.
It is. So it's a pretty prestigious bowl. Not what it once was, but it's still a nice prestigious bowl. It all boils down to the players. Okay, it is a way to award them for the accomplishments they had this season, and to say that money and power and all the things that are starting to come into college football, to say they're going to take this opportunity away from the players, in my opinion, is not fair. So they cut it off at 50, at a 500 season. You know what? If someone were to ask me before they decided where to cut it off, what's a good spot, I might have said 500, because it's 500. It's not a losing season at that point. So I can't get after why they maybe came up with that scenario for them. But we do play Tulsa for the second time. I think it's going to be just as fun as the first. They're a scary team. They've gotten better since that 38-23 loss to us. Cody Green's a player. You don't go to Nebraska as quarterback and not be a player. And they got the running backs. They've got some wide receivers. They've got some skill players. It's going to be tough, and they have gotten better. I believe Iowa State's gotten better as well, though. We may have found a quarterback in Sam Richardson that's going to be able to pull us through. But it's going to be a fun game. They got the revenge factor on their side. You've got us just sitting there saying, can we take this team twice in a year, potentially 3 times in 13 months? I don't know. It could turn into maybe just a little rivalry in of itself because of all this. But I doubt we'll play them after 2015.
And then maybe they're joining the Big 12.
Very well could be. With who knows?
All because they kept playing Iowa State.
Cyclone fans, does it not feel good, or isn't it kind of fun this time to kind of see the dominoes fall again? But this time we know we have a seat at the table. We're not sweating. We're actually enjoying it this time. So anyway, that is New Year's Eve, 2:30, Iowa State, Tulsa. It does give us those extra practices. I know the team and Rhodes and everyone, they're going to enjoy it. The fans are going to enjoy it. It'll be a good time. Everyone will want to go down there. Let's just see if we can come back with a bowl. You can't argue with what Paul Rhodes has done. 3 bowl teams out of 4 seasons. So, how did Chiswick do? Oh, wait. How did Chiswick do at Auburn? Oh, wait. So
Cam Newton.
Yeah, Cam Newton.
1 year wonder.
So that's my thoughts around Iowa State right now. Just looking forward to it. I do think they had a successful season. I feel bad that Woody lost that fumble on the one. We were about to tie, but there were other plays like the end around that hurt us as well. That's football, a game of inches, and if he was a couple inches farther, does the ball come out after he crossed the plane? That's the way things go. So we're excited. I'm excited. I think the future is bright, especially with the recruiting that Chuck mentioned. We took Campos away from Missouri. I had no idea we were going to be able to do that. That was kind of out of nowhere. Huge. And then 3 days later, we get very well possibly one of the best recruits ever to come out of Iowa in history in terms of Lazard. That kid's going to he's already in the top 100 of ESPN. He's more than likely going to be a 5-star. We don't see too many of those in Iowa.
Nope.
And to be able to grab him, and he's already working on, what's the Cedar Falls guy name? Bachenberger or Bacher? Something Bacher. Anyway, something Bacher. Bacher, if you are listening, come to Iowa State, I guess. So, he wants to stay home. But he's supposed to be a 4 or 5-star offensive lineman, and he's from Cedar Falls, stud as well. So